Hi everyone, and welcome to the Paul Chandler Show. I'm your host, Paul Chandler. In tonight's discussion, we're going to be talking about panels. And I don't mean panels as in, for example, if you watch American Idol, The Voice, RuPaul's Drag Race, and/or Project Runway. Not those kind of panels. We have people sitting behind the desk saying, are you in, are you out? And, X is yes, I like you, no, and whatnot. Not those kind of panels. This kind of panels we're talking about in the pathology and laboratory in medical coding, where we're taking multiple different items that the provider is testing for and group them together. So stay tuned, and when we come right back, we'll be talking about panels. When coding panels, it's quite simplistic, but the only thing is that we have to notice is that with the panels, though, there's a lot of items in one code. That's what a panel is. Oftentimes, providers will code a series of items for the order to have a patient be testing for. So instead of the coder having to code each individual item, then think of it as one big, huge bundle that will choose one code, but actually includes several different items that the doctor's testing for. Now, if you look in the panels, which is in the beginning of the Path and Lab section in your coding manual, you have the CPT code number, for example, 80047, basic metabolic panel, calcium ionized. And then it says, this panel must include the following, and there's a list of 8 items there. The key phrase there, though, is this panel must include the following. The word must is not suggestive, it is a requirement. So, for example, we have modifier 52, reduced services, modifier 53, discontinued procedure. Both of those modifiers are saying we do not do 100% of the CPT code, so not paying 100% of the reimbursement. We would never, ever, ever use modifier 52 nor 53 with the panels if we're missing at least one item in that list. In that case, we would code each item individually. However, though, if you do have to do that scenario, then the CPT code number is already in parentheses after that item. So that's one thing that for rule number 1, if you will, remembering with panels, that it must include the following, everything listed there. The other item is that if you want to code 2 panels together, then remembering though the doctor, for example, 80047 and 80048. 80047, basic metabolic panel, calcium ionized. 80048, basic metabolic panel, calcium total. If we were to code both of those 2 CPT codes, each panel has 8 items there, but there's 7 items that overlap. Calcium ionized in 80047, calcium total in 80048. Those 2 do not overlap. So out of the 8, 7 are identical, the calcium's a little bit different. So if we were to choose both those codes together, 80047 and 80048, what you're saying is the doctor tested twice for 7 of those items and then 1 in each of the calciums. So that's kind of weird, so that's not what we do. So for example, if the doctor wants to do a basic metabolic panel, the calcium ionized, but also do a calcium total, or the provider can want to do a basic metabolic panel calcium total and also do a calcium ionized. Now, what I just said, you may have just heard me say blah, 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 total, blah, 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 panel. But essentially, think of it as if the doctor wants to test for all 7 of those items. So the 2 basic metabolic panels, how all 7 of those items that are in both. If the doctor wants to code for the patient to have both of those 7 items and each calcium. So like I said, we would not want to do 80047 and 80048 because coding it that way, you're saying that 7 of those items that do overlap, they're doing it twice. So instead of coding each panel, we could code it one of 2 ways. We could either code the calcium ionized basic metabolic panel by itself as a full panel, and then add the 82310 code for the calcium total separately. So here we're having the 8 items that we are including in that panel, and the 1 separate calcium total to give us the total of 9 different items that the doctor wants to test. We're including the calcium ionized with the 80047 panel and coding the costume total separately. Or we can reverse it, as in we can code the 80048 code with the 82330. So in that case, we're coding the basic metabolic panel, the calcium total, all 8 of those items, and coding the calcium ionized separately, that one item, and we're still getting all 9 separate items. So it doesn't matter which way you do it, all of them both mean the same. We're still coding the 7 items that are in duplicate in each of those panels, and each of the calciums ionized and total separately to get our 9 different items that we're testing. So that's item number 2. That remembering that when we code panels is that if you ever use 2 panel codes together, the items that overlap one another, you're saying you're double coding those, that the doctor ordered twice on those. So you would want to extract one and code the other ones separately, like the separate codes there. And then the other item that can be tricky with the panels is remembering that sometimes a panel can include another panel. And for example, if you look at CPT code 80050, the GHP or the general health panel. So looking at that code in your description of your CPT book, it says that this panel must include, then we have the 80053. That is another panel, the comprehensive metabolic panel. And then we have 1 or 2 of the CBCs we can look at. So CBC number 1 or CBC number 2. Now I do not like where the word or is in the CPT manual, because underneath that, we also have the thyroid stimulating hormone, the TSH, which is also code 84443. So if you're looking at, in the CPT code manual, 80050, the comprehensive metabolic panel, is included in that as item number 1. Where the word or is, it's not everything above the word or, everything below the word or is in relation to which one of the 2 versions of the CBCs, the comprehensive metabolic panel, item number 1, and then the CBCs, the complete blood count, which one of those 2 are we choosing? And then the patient's also getting the TSH, the thyroid stimulating hormone. So all in all, we're getting 3 items here. We have 4 to choose from because we have to figure out which one of the CBCs, the complete blood count, does a provider want. So with that phrase, that sometimes a panel includes another panel. So for example, if I look up the general health panel, the 80050, nowhere in there, let's say glucose. I'll just pick on that today. Nowhere does the word glucose is anywhere in the description of 80050. It's just not there. But with the phrase, a panel includes another panel, if I look at the comprehensive metabolic panel, then that has, so that's a separate code. We have then the 80051 panel. Now at the end of the page is the 80053 panel, and all those items listed there. There we have the word glucose. So let's just say for whatever reason, the doctor is not wanting to test for glucose today. So that means glucose is the only one item that the doctor is not testing for in the comprehensive metabolic panel, 80053. So if they're not testing at 80053, that means we cannot do an 80050 because this one line here, 80053, the comprehensive metabolic panel includes everything at the bottom of the page. So if that's the case, and again, it is highly unlikely that the provider will want to extract out 1 or 2 items and not code it. But if it does happen though, if the provider is missing any one out of the list that they want to test for, and the 80053 panel, the comprehensive metabolic panel, then that means we cannot code this panel, nor can we have the coding for the general health panel, the 80050. So I call that the domino effect. So that were the situation. Then we have to code for the general health panel. We have to code everything in 80053 separately, except the glucose code. We have to code the CBCs separately and the thyroid stimulating hormone separately. So translation, you have a whole long list of CPT codes there. But again, it is highly unlikely, but it does happen. Okay, so just to recap with the panel coding, is that for one, remembering that the phrase, this panel must include the following, that is not a suggestion, that is a requirement. It just has to include everything in that list. So we would never use modifier 52 nor 53 if we're doing anything less than that's on that full list. And then item number 2, that sometimes when we're having the options of coding 2 panels together, whenever that happens, anything that's duplicate in those 2 multiple panels that we code, you're technically double coding it. So when you're having 2 panels to code together, extract out what the difference is and then each list those items individually so you're not double coding certain items that were only as far as Python Lab requested once. And then the third item is remembering that sometimes a panel does include another panel. So if you're missing something in one panel that's included in another panel, you got to code everything separately in that case. And that does include this quick education on panels. And if you're interested in additional education, remember, check out Ohana Coding. They're our education provider, and they do have CPC review classes, upcoming boot camp, as well as primers, which individual study sessions as well. And that is ohanacoding.com, one of our sponsors. And I do thank you for watching this education on panels, and have an awesome rest of your day. If you like this video and want to see more, make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's so easy. It's right there. A little button. Just push it. Subscribe. I got all night. Nothing else to do. Just subscribe.